When the Archon swarm first appeared above our skies, shimmering like a living sea of silver knives, they did not come to negotiate. They sent one message, broadcast on every frequency, a simple directive repeated in all known languages: submit and die swiftly, or resist and die screaming. Some species pleaded for mercy, some fell to their knees, some turned on each other in mad panic. But humanity, so small on the galactic stage, so often mocked as fragile apes scratching at dirt, looked up, clenched our teeth, and chose something else. We chose to fight, not just for survival but for each other. At first, the cities burned. Our defenses were shattered in minutes, our orbital fleets scattered like ash in a hurricane. The Archon descended in needle ships, reaping entire neighborhoods in pulses of blue light, harvesting biomass and melting steel alike. Families huddled underground, listening to the tremors above like the last heartbeats of a dying world. In one of those bunkers, deep beneath what had once been Tokyo's skyline, a mechanic named Juno crouched with her son and a few dozen strangers. She had no rank, no grand armor, only oil-stained hands and the memory of her father's stories. Stories of humanity's stubbornness, of ancestors who survived plagues, fires, and endless wars. When the door burst open and an Archon harvester slithered inside, Juno didn't pray. She lunged with a welding torch, burning the thing's sensor cluster and driving it into a wall. The others watched in stunned silence before they too rose up, grabbing pipes, shovels, whatever they had. Sparks flew, screams echoed, but the invader fell. In that dim, trembling space, something ancient sparked inside them, defiance. All across the globe, similar sparks caught flame. A farmer in Kenya converted irrigation drones into attack bots. In Brazil, favelas turned entire hillsides into traps of sharpened rebar and homemade napalm. In orbit, a lone engineer redirected an unfinished mining laser, slicing through Archon ships like molten knives through wax. In the great underground councils that formed, the leaders weren't politicians or generals. They were teachers, nurses, welders, ordinary humans who understood that no savior was coming. Humanity learned to think not as separate nations but as a single organism, a swarm to match the Archon's numbers with something they could never understand: human grit and wild, irrational hope. It was in those weeks of shadow and blood that we remembered our greatest weapon. Not guns or ships, though we would build them, fierce and many, but each other. We fed one another from dwindling stocks, shared warmth in freezing tunnels, passed on whispered plans when radios fell silent. We laughed in the dark so the children wouldn't hear the sobs. Then came the night of the burning sky. 1,000 homemade rockets roared upward from every continent at once, each carrying payloads of molten scrap, chemical bombs, and raw fury. Satellites we thought lost blinked alive to coordinate the assault. The Archon, unaccustomed to prey that fought back as one, reeled. Above the ruins of New Delhi, a makeshift command center erupted into cheers as Archon motherships burned and fell in streaks of orange across the horizon. But it wasn't enough. The main hive vessel still hung above us like a second moon, churning out more harvesters every hour. So we did the impossible. A global crew, farmers beside astronauts, children coding virus programs beside veterans welding armor, united for a final strike. We called it Project Lazarus. Every scrap of metal, every fragment of data, every heartbeat left in our species went into it. Juno found herself piloting a hybrid crawler rocket, duct taped together from mining rigs and cargo engines. As she climbed the launch ramp, her son handed her a small charm he'd made from machine parts, whispering, "For luck, Mama." She kissed his forehead, promising to come back. The launch was madness incarnate. Crawlers roared into orbit in ragged formations, plasma bolts streaking past, Archon interceptors swarming like hornets. But humanity had become one heartbeat, one will. They covered each other, shielded the weakest, flung themselves into the jaws of death so the others could climb higher. Juno's crawler smashed into the hive vessel's belly. Inside, she tore off her restraints and ran, welding torch in hand, planting shaped charges in vital conduits. Her fingers bled, her lungs burned, but she kept moving, every step echoing with all those left below, all those she loved. At the final chamber, she found the Archon core, a writhing mass of silver tendrils pulsating with stolen life. She took her last breath, thought of her son's smile, and ignited every charge at once. The explosion tore through the hive, ripping its vast shadow from the sky. On Earth, millions watched as the second moon flared, cracked, and collapsed into burning fragments. Silence reigned for a heartbeat, Then an earth-shaking cry rose from every bunker, every ravaged street. We had done it. Together. In the years that followed, we rebuilt. Not as fractured tribes, but as a single people who knew what it meant to face the abyss and refused to bow. Memorials stood for every lost city, every fighter, every mother like Juno who rose from the ashes with nothing but a torch and a promise. And when our children asked what it meant to be human, we told them of that dark hour. We told them how they offered us extinction, but we answered not with despair. We answered with unity, fire, and the unstoppable grit that only humanity could wield. And we sang their names under the new stars forever.